Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back now with Dr. Laura Griffith Garland. Excited to have her here from Charleston Tarot and Reiki. Welcome back. How are you today?
I'm doing well. We got Mercury retrograded though.
Yes. Okay. So we were supposed to be on at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, but Jill called the wrong guest at 1 p.m. And Vincent was nice enough not to say anything, but I just went to the next email. So from 12, I went to the next, and the 12:30 email with your name on it was not there. And they confirmed they sent it. I confirmed screenshots. I'm like, it's not in spam. It's not. So thank you. She's just an understanding doll. Thank you so much. Now, Mercury retrograde, explain that to some newcomers here. They may not understand what that is.
Sure. At the beginning of this week, actually beginning of last week, Mercury went into what's called retrograde, which because of the way orbits happen with planets, it appears in the sky that Mercury goes backwards. Mercury doesn't go backwards. It's just the way orbits look like in our sky. But strangely, I'm not really into astrology at all, but this is the one thing that really does seem to affect things. Mercury controls communication, transportation. Yeah, those two are the big two things. And appointment screw ups is the typical actually during Mercury retrograde. Because we had our standard already, this Mercury retrograde. It never happens outside of Mercury retrograde, but we had two clients show up at exactly the same time for an appointment. And in this case, it was neither of their appointments. So this one was even worse. They did a little rock, paper, scissors to decide who got it because the person who was supposed to be there wasn't there at all.
Oh my gosh.
but this thing, that sort of thing only happens during Mercury retrograde. And I have we're at 10 years now worth of data for appointments for our business. So it really does only happen during Mercury retrograde. And on top of that, I was sitting here thinking, because the topic I'm coming up with is a little heavy today. I do the cards as usual, and I came up with friendship and patience and health. And I first looked at that and I was just like, what the am I going to do with this? And then I sat with it for a little bit. And I realized that firstly, I wanted to acknowledge all of those in the Buffalo area who are experiencing some form of suffering right now. I actually do have a clue what those in the general community of Buffalo are feeling as I was here in Charleston during the Mother Emanuel shooting. My heart goes out to all of those around Buffalo. So today it ends up that the cards want me to talk about some of the dysfunction that is happening in our society and engulfing us. The main card was friendship. And that took me a little while to look at and figure out what they wanted me to talk about. But this dysfunction that we have is actually growing. It's not shrinking. And part of the issue is our friendships or lack thereof. I'm going to admit that I lost friends over the last 2 years due to differences over COVID and my lack of patience with being with people whose view on the facts were highly skewed.
Yeah.
Due to who they were paying attention to and what they were listening with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first to admit that I gave up on some people when they told me that they were researching their health on Facebook. I'm still going to say it. I'm sorry. I stand by the fact that Facebook is not a research tool. If the source would not be acceptable to your high school English teacher or your college English prof,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to use it to make life decisions by.
True. I agree.
So I'm going to stand by that. But
Okay.
with that aside, it is my failing that I didn't have the patience to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you step out of the self-imposed bubbles, silos, or whatever the heck you want to call them, and start to reintegrate ourselves into a society who can talk to each other?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you two things that aren't helping. Ultra wokeness and cancel culture. I fully agree that voting with our dollar is an excellent privilege that we have currently. That is, it's part of being in a democratic society. And understanding and using that can create real change.
Yeah.
However, the cancel culture against people is another issue altogether. How are we a civilized, mature, advanced, woke society when we spew hatred and vitriol?
Yeah.
Calling somebody names, trolling, jumping in with a crowd before we have the facts, just so we can seem cool or woke, using racist, sexist, ageist, genderist. Is that a word? I don't think that's a word yet. But anyways, it'll probably be a word. How about any ist that separates? Any ist that separates? No. Let's call it what it is. Any ist that segregates peoples, placing some above others. All of that's BS. Is that who we really want to be? I don't. I don't. We have to become aware of our mindset on this. Are we locked into a mindset of us versus them? I have to say that's a big yes for most people right now. And I got to ask, how much of the darkness have we taken on? Because that mindset is what causes something like Ukraine. A question for people: what in your mind are those quote unquote people supposedly like? When this mindset goes too far, we get Mother Emanuel or Tops Market or any of the others. And don't think that this mindset can't be pushed onto more people. It can, and it is.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do today to curb this? Firstly, I'm really going to watch myself from sinking into that us versus them thinking.
Yeah.
It's been so easy. So prompted by news media for ratings, and bots for systematic disruption. Our intelligence community, and I have a couple of close friends, that's all I can say, who have told me that the use of bots by non-democratic nations is a prevalent thing that is occurring, trying to disrupt our entire society. It's about disrupting our society. So I'm going to ask everyone, did you know if everyone you follow on social media is actually a person?
No, you're right.
Yeah,
Well, isn't that what part of Elon Musk is talking about? He doesn't want to buy Twitter because all these fake accounts or whatever.
Yes, and Twitter has been really targeted with this because it's so easy apparently to set up a fake account, and you can just tweet stuff out so fast that bots are super easy for Twitter to be used on Twitter. Facebook, during the past 2 major presidential election cycles, has been shown to be full of bots.
Yeah.
Instagram, full of bots. WhatsApp, full of bots. Name a platform, it's full of bots. So when we're getting fed that us versus them, is that really your friend, or is that somebody sitting somewhere 3/4 of the way around the world feeding a line? And because of the way the algorithms work, it just feeds more and more and more and more and more and more. And that's why I say really start with yourself, because we've got to know who we're actually interacting with. Is it a real live person that you're following? We got to know what we're thinking. For myself, I'm going to see if I can approach some of my friends that we have distanced from. Break outside that bubble, that silo. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know. But I'm going to try. And if more of us try, then we open it up just a little bit, just a little bit. And I'm going to ask people, can we watch how we think about others and what we say in our heads? I'm going to really work on that one. And maybe it does just start with our thinking and our personal emotions and our self-talk about this issue. Maybe if we can realign things in our mind to an us only mindset instead of a them mindset, we can begin to return our world to an actual civilized, mature, advanced society. How about we renew the New Year's resolution to do something nice for someone each and every day? How about we think and do nice things for ourselves too?
Yeah.
Because if we don't feel good, we tend to project that outward on that spills all over things. So do nice things for ourselves. Be gentle with ourselves, be gentle with others, and have patience. Ooh, patience, yeah. Because this is a process. We got here with decades of programming that started before any Gen Z was even born.
True.
I mean, a lot of the us versus them in the US mindset, there was a bunch of stuff that happened in the 50s. And then when I was a kid, during the Reagan era, they really started pushing quote unquote moral majority, which we suddenly found out wasn't so moral. So some of the hate has always been here. Yep. And some of this recent time has just uncovered the stuff that we had swept under the rug. But that's no excuse for continuing the hate, adding to the hate, stoking the hate, allowing anyone else to put hate in our heads.
Yeah.
You don't have to accept that. I want to stop being in any way whatsoever, even just in my mind, part of the problem, and become part of the solution.
Wow.
And here's why even in our minds is such a big deal. It's law of attraction. We attract what we think about. If we think us versus them, we get us versus them even more. So I'm asking people, anyone listening, anyone who hears this, to really, really think about how we're processing this programming that we've been told over and over and over again, that it's supposed to be us versus them. Why is it supposed to be that? Why? There's just us. There's just us. Every human's DNA, the differences are so minuscule that it's insane. We're just humans. The little bit differences are, what's your hair, what's your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a large frame or a small frame? Do you get an hourglass figure if you're a woman, or do you have a different figure? If you're a guy, do you have a lot of muscle, or are you one of those tall, trim guys? That's all the differences in the DNA.
Yeah.
It's nothing else. And so really, really thinking about this, because what happened in Buffalo really, really struck, having been here for Mother Emanuel, and really made me think about, where are we going? What do we want to do? Who do we want to be? And it's a process, because we've been fed this since we were little. We've been fed the us versus them mentality since we were tiny. And it's going to be a process to shift it. If you have ever found yourself saying, I hate someone, really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Is it that you're just upset at the moment and something, especially if it's a group of people, if an individual person did something horrible to you, might see where a level that could be said hate might come up.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. We're talking particularly heinous things that had to have happened. They slighted you, doesn't rise to the level of hate. Heinous, something probably criminal would have needed to happen to rise to that level. That's an individual person, but a whole group. Really? A whole group did something to you? I've never had a whole group ever do anything to me. Okay, no, I take that back. There were some mean girls in junior high, and that was a group of 3. It was a group of 3. It was not all girls who looked a certain way across the entire freaking world. And, when they got older, it wasn't like that. It was that junior high, horrible hormone thing going on, that a lot of us went through and saw, and we were on one side, the other side, both sides, who knows, whatever side of all of that when we were 13. Do I hate those girls? No. But we hate groups, and we've been taught this. And don't want us to move forward like that. It's not required that you love everybody. That's not required. That would be lovely. Yes, that would be absolutely lovely. And if we got to that point, I don't think we'd ever have a war again. But hate, no. Trolling. Oh, let's not do that. Your personality, I'm sure you get trolled. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, people say some mean things sometimes. Even with pictures of me I post with my kids, and it's like, but it's okay. I have very tough skin. I've been working in television. People judge you and say stuff, and it's okay. But it makes me laugh. It's like, really? The stuff that you say? Yeah, it's bizarre. So it bothers me because I notice it, but I'm really not affected by it. But I could see how people can, because if people really spewing hate to you all the time, and even like celebrities has talked about trolling, they had to shut off their social media. It bothers them, but got to be tougher. But it's just, it just says a lot about that person who's behind it all. So yeah.
Right. And indeed, the trolling actually says almost nothing about the person who's being trolled.
Yeah.
It says all about the people doing the trolling. And the hate that they often feel isn't for who they're trolling, it's for themselves.
Yeah.
And somebody taught them that. Somebody taught them to hate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a sad thing, because that often happened when they were really young.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very sad. And the people who get taught to hate themselves, their parents often hate all over. There's lots of it to spread around. There are particular instances where a parent will pick out a particular child and scapegoat them. But then then that's on the parent, right? So now we're going, okay, that's on the parent, but the parent then creates that. And then we have to ask what was happening with the parent, and was it their parents? And yes, this is generational. This goes back and back and back and back. That's where that some of this hate comes from. It's generational. We've been taught it. But if you're over the age of, I'll put it as old as 25 right now. Mm-hmm. If you're over the age of 25, your brain has matured enough to start actually processing stuff for yourself and thinking about what you're thinking about. This is, and here we go back to it, mindfulness.
Sure.
Yeah, it comes back to that. This is mindfulness. How do we get out of the hate? We get out of the hate by stopping how we're thinking about it. Because there's an event. Something happens out there somewhere, and you have a thought, oh, this event just happened. It may happen to you, or it may happen elsewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So this event happens. So you have the thought, this event happens. At the moment, it's still fact. It's just this event happened. But then we go into this multiplicity of thinking, where we start running down rabbit holes, left, right, and left, all over the place. And then we pick one. And what I'm asking is, let's pick one that uplifts us, that empowers, instead of degrades, separates, segregates, and disempowers us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we're empowering ourselves by this us versus them, because we feel like, oh, we're better somehow. We put ourselves, quote unquote, up. But in the long run, that's not actually empowering. When you're kicking someone else, you're not empowering yourself. Okay, unless it's a mugger. If it's a mugger, then you're empowering yourself if you're kicking them. Please feel free to do that.
Yeah.
But if we're verbally kicking people, that's actually not empowering us. It really isn't. Not in the end. Because at some point you're going to sit there and think, oh my gosh, I just said mean things to someone. unless you're a sociopath or psychopath, you're going to have a reaction within yourself. You are. And so what I'm asking is, when you go to that thinking, find something that truly empowers you, that empowers people around you, that lifts us up, that helps us out, that makes us feel better in a good way, in the all boats rise way, not the let's go puncture a hole in somebody's boat and let them sink way. So when we empower ourselves, we feel better. When we feel better, it's a ripple effect that spreads out. So today, do something nice for yourself. Let's see if you can't do something nice for someone else too.
Oh,
remember, it's something nice could just be a text to someone that's just
in need,
thinking about you, smiley emoji, or some crazy, strange, weird emoji. Who knows? Just something to make them laugh. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be on your way home tonight, you let somebody out of a driveway in front of you,
and that
on the highway, on the road, on the way home. It could just be that.
It really could.
It really could. Simple things to
go a long way. I agree.
Yeah. And guess what? You'll feel better too.
Yeah.
You'll feel better about yourself when you've done that, because you'll be like, yay me. Yay. Yay me. So I want to cheerlead people on and say, do something nice for yourself, and then see if you can't ripple that out and do something nice for someone else, because then you'll get the immediate feedback inside yourself of yay me.
Yeah.
So by being selfless, you could be selfish all at the same time, and those are not necessarily a bad thing in this case.
Wonderful.
So
would you mind reminding our listeners how we can reach out to you?
Sure. Direct email, drlaura.coach, so drlaura.coach@gmail.com. Our phone, 843-259-8349. And that's our line into our overarching center, the Charleston Holistic Center. So I'll probably answer the phone that way, Charleston Holistic Center.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us again and keeping us inspired. And thank you for accommodating us today at the new time.
Mercury retrograde.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. Have a great day. And to everyone else, the same. We appreciate you too. Stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.